Hegseth did a long interview this morning on Fox News. If you've been following this story, nothing he said in tone or substance will surprise you. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it would take almost the rest of the show. It's very long. But it left in place the mystery of what his posture is towards his close, longtime friends and allies who were removed from their jobs and were very unhappy. Here's just a bit of this. This is going to be 108 of Hegseth explaining, I say in air quotes, the departure of these aides. 108.
Over the last few days, your senior advisor, Dan Caldwell, Darren Selnick, Colin Carroll, who is your chief of staff, deputy secretary of defense. The other one, Darren, is now former deputy chief of staff, were let go. Did you let them go?
Right. It was a result of an investigation ongoing at the Pentagon where we identified there was sufficient evidence, potentially, again, there's an investigation ongoing that will have to complete itself, sufficient evidence to believe that they or others near them were party to leaking. And then I have a statutory responsibility, Brian, if I believe that's the case, to ultimately ensure they no longer have access to that and that the investigation commences. There are a lot of ways to communicate in this building. I do it every day. I was just doing it this morning. Official channels by which we communicate classified information. If you want to do it and do it the right way,
right. Shorter Pete Hegseth, yada, yada, yada. He doesn't say anything. And I give credit to Brian Kilmeade. I thought he asked almost all of the correct questions. But it is still not clear to me what's going on. I'll tell you what is clear to me. There are people in the Pentagon who love Pete Hegseth who think he will be gone and should be gone. Okay? It's not the deep state. It's not NPR. Reports by NPR and others that they're looking to replace him. There's some truth to that. There's some truth to the notion that they think he might have to go. They're currently backing him up. He has the support of Don Jr. He has the support of Charlie Kirk. Tucker interviewed one of the three. I call Tucker, Charlie, and Don Jr. the board of directors, and with the vice president. Tucker interviewed one of these guys, and it was a relatively sympathetic interview. One of the guys who was fired, who's very unhappy. So I consider this to be not just a great gossipy parlor game, but a significant question about what's going on at the Pentagon with someone whose organizational skills were questioned by people before he got the job. So, Sean, do you have any idea what's actually going on?
Yeah, well, I have a theory. Let me just say this. I agree with you. I'd written down in my notes to make a point of that. For all of Politico made hay of the interview that was about to come up and sort of said, oh, another softball interview. I agree with you. I'd made a note. I think Kilmeade asked solid, good questions. Yeah. He didn't let him off the hook. And this perception, it's the same thing with when you go on Laura Ingraham, free pass on Fox. It's just completely ridiculous. Go look at some, maybe there's a couple instances that you can find, but Laura Ingraham asked tough questions. Brian Kilmeade again today, and this perception, I get Politico's jealous that they don't get the questions or they don't get the interviews, but at the end of the day, that was not a softball interview. Two, here's my take on this. I think that what happened on this is Sean Spicer's theory, not anybody else's, just to be clear, is that when Elon was going to visit the Pentagon, there may have been some truth, and I don't know this, but I'm just saying that of what that briefing was looking like. It kind of blew up. I think we saw it get leaked that he was coming, that there was going to be some discussion about what the subjects were going to be, and I think some people didn't like it and leaked it out. And I think what happened was they figured out who those people were, or more specifically, Elon's people figured out who it was, and basically said, either they go or we make this a big deal. And that's because if you look at the different pieces of the chessboard, these are longtime friends and colleagues of Pete, going back to Concerned Veterans for America. The idea that he let them go so easily makes me believe that they really do have the goods on them. And what were the goods? Right. Well, it was about a meeting with Elon.
Okay, but here's what I don't get. Okay, I think your theory is as amongst the best I've heard. Why wouldn't Pete go to his friends and say, "God, you messed up. You put out stuff about Elon. Elon's pissed. We gotta make this right. So you gotta go. I'll find you another job," or no hard feelings. Instead, he's at war with them, where they're suing or talking about suing. They're complaining. They know a lot of stuff. And again, since we're just speculating here, it seems like they're the source of some of these stories. Pentagon. Why would he? Why would he treat his friends this way?
So remember, you got three buckets. Okay, you got the disgruntled. That's John Elliott, right? And John is
Separate
the one
bucket,
that
agreed.
separate bucket.
Yeah.
He wrote an op-ed, and I have a feeling when you look again, part of what when you've been doing this as long as the three of us have, you can look at breadcrumbs. Who got that story about people? Some of the issues. Daniel Littman of Political, not exactly a Pentagon reporter, not someone who's a top White House reporter. That's who you go to when you want to just give a story away, right? This is not a guy that's breaking a ton of news. So it's a pretty obvious thing. I mean, I have a full, nothing to back this up, but I would connect those dots pretty easily. Then when you look at bucket two, it's his former chief of staff who has become a special government employee. So that says to me that guy bought in on the deal. Okay. Then you've got the three other top aides who are pissed, right? My guess is that, again, purely speculative, is that these guys did what they did. And then it got found out, and Pete says, "Hey guys, you got to go." And they go, "Are you kidding me? We were defending you. We were the ones looking out for you in the building." And by the way, but I mean, I think that there's a little bit of where these guys did something maybe without his express knowledge or permission, but it was kind of blind eye-ish or something like that. And now they're like, "Are you kidding us? We're paying the price."
Right.
And
but
how
Dan,
about?
but Dan, just to throw it to you by saying this, I'm not saying Pete Hegseth handled it wrong because he should be nicer to his friends, although I celebrate people being nice to their friends. I'm saying he's created a monster now that can come back to bite him with these three guys, and they're proclaiming their innocence. So what do you think of Sean's theory and where we are?
I think the thing is, we always come back to this. Who's the audience for any of these cabinet members? It's one person. It's Donald Trump. And what is Donald? How did Hegseth save himself? He savaged everybody, right? It was us against them. I think, Sean, your point, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, I wondered if this is about Elon Musk, if Musk was pissed, if Musk was seeking revenge, because there are also reports that he's tried to get into other kind of contracts in the Defense Department, that he's been blocked. I think Musk tried to get him. They were defending their boss. It was us against Musk. Musk had the goods. And I think Hegseth, to save himself, said, I'm either going to turn on these guys full throttle, turn on MAGA, turn on everyone to save my own ass, because if it's me against Elon Musk, I'm going to lose this battle.
Well,
again, if
there's no question it's about Elon, right? I mean, we know what the story was about. The story that was leaked was about Elon.
But Pete said this morning in the news reports, it said there was also stuff about the Panama Canal. It wasn't just the Musk story. Now, you might be right that the Musk story triggered it, but he claims there are other stories. Hey, want to be part of the two-way community all the time? Hit the subscribe button. Great video clips like this, plus conversations like no other, full episodes and more, always available on this channel. You got to hit subscribe to never miss a thing.